Hello YouTubers, we're back for another wallet adventure. This one we're going to try something even new. As I discussed in my last video, we're going to cut an extra one of these pockets out and put it under here and go across to make them different colors. Get rid of this in the center. Make it a bifold like we did last time. See how it comes out. What do you think? And yes, I've already made sure that these were set, but just to double check, we're going to double check this. Should be 25 millimeters, and it is. And we're going to check this 101 and 173, and it is. And this is 101 wide, and it is. And this should be 101 wide, and it is. So everything checks out on these. It looks good. So now that we know we are good to go, we're going to go ahead and cut these out. And since they're all three the same, we can just stack them all three up the same and cut them at the same time. Save us a little bit of time. And these scissors that I got here can handle this 110-pound cardstock like it was butter, because these are made for leather. So I don't think it's going to hurt them or dull them going through this. I haven't had any problems yet. I've had these for years, so. And I've never really sharpened them. I don't even have a pair of sharpeners, I don't think. My Aunt Bobby had a sharpener. I thought it was a yo-yo. And then somebody goes, "That's not a yo-yo, Frank, that's a sharpener." I'm like, oh my gosh. But I don't know if I grabbed it or not. I wanted to keep it because it reminded me of her house, because she always had that thing laying around. I'm not sure she ever used it, but that I saw. But anyway, so there we go. So we've got 3 sets cut out in just a matter of a few seconds. And we're going to be ready to put them on the leather. And I have the leather picked out that I want. So let's go over and pick it out. Sound like a winner? I'll meet you over here at the table in just a few seconds, and in a leather second. Hello YouTubers, I'm back. Okay, so let's cut out, we're only going to need 2 of these. We're only going to need the front and back, interior, exterior. And we are going to use that cherry that I'd used before. Let me grab that. I thought I had it out. Sorry about that. Here it is. I call it oxblood. It's called oxblood. I call it cherry, but I guess it's really called oxblood. But it looks pretty. I like it. This is what we made our last wallet out of, but that's okay. So we're just going to go ahead and see, can we do it this way? You really should cut it the same way the grain's going. So we're going to put right here. I'm going to cut it this way. I got to grab my scissors and my stapler. because we're going to do it the way I like to do it, which is with a stapler. Saves a lot of time, and I can get very accurate cutting things out with the stapler. And it holds it very secure. That's one thing I like about it. You can hold it very, very tight, so it doesn't hurt anything. So just do a couple staples to hold it, and then just go ahead and cut it along the border there. And then we can put these pieces of leather pieces of leather that's left over in a bin for later retrieval. And with the jig we have, we could technically take one of these bodies once we cut it out and put that jig on there, okay, and then cut another piece out without measuring it again. But, you know, I do it this way. It's just as easy. But, yeah, so. And sometimes when these curl, you just kind of bend these around like so. And then just kind of hold them like that. And then just put a staple in there, a couple staples. Like that. Maybe one like this. Come back around. And then see, it's nice and flat for the most part. So it works pretty good that way. We need one more like this. So let's go ahead and put him in here. Get him right down on the button all the way up against the edge so we don't waste any leather. And because I'm running low on this ox blood cherry leather. So, because I use it so much, I have to use some other things instead, but I really like this stuff. I think I'm going to go back to, after I get done with these pieces, I think I'm going to go back and buy some more from Candy. I'm going to wait. They usually have sales during Thanksgiving, Black Friday. And I'm going to see if they've got this on Black Friday. If they do, I'm going to buy up a couple of rolls of this, because this is good stuff to have. It's inexpensive to start with anyway. I mean, for as nice as it looks, it's very inexpensive. And so it's kind of cool. And when I say inexpensive, I want to say like 59 bucks a roll, which a roll is a half hide, I think. I want to say, I think it's a half hide. It might be a shoulder or a quarter shoulder. I'd have to look and see for sure, to be sure. But whatever it is, it's a decent amount size. I mean, I've used a lot off this, and I've still got, you know, a pretty good sizable amount. But 59 bucks is, for leather, is a drop in the bucket. Trust me, I bought enough leather to know. So I just need to get a couple wallets sold with this stuff in it to get my money back on it. But I just try to get my money back on the parts that I've used. So I'd like to use this stuff. It's called London Tan. And I have some London Tan pieces already, some smaller pieces. And I think what I'm going to do is do London Tan, London Tan. So it'll be 4 London Tans. And I only have 3. But I'll show you how we do that. So what we'll do is we'll take 1 London Tan and we'll put 1 staple in it, in the middle, just to hold it. Okay. This is a piece that had already been cut off of. And I'll just cut this and cut this down to the square. Okay, like so. Okay. Then let's see if we have any more pieces. Yeah, we got this piece, and this piece. So these are bigger pieces. But this is a bigger piece. These are skinnier pieces. And can we see if I can use, yeah, I can use a skinnier piece on this. And it'll fit just fine. So then what we do is then take and staple on either side of this staple, both of them together. We're going to cut 2 leathers at the same time when we go to cut, which won't be a problem because the knives we're using are very sharp, so we'll be able to cut that amount of leather fairly easy. So there we go. So now there's 2, and we just need 2 more. And so we'll just put this one on here. Go all the way to the edge with him. Go ahead and put him here. Staple him here. Can you see? You probably couldn't see me do that. Sorry about that. I gotta stay in the camera here. Just having a hard time reaching that. Just trying to turn and reach at the same time. Yeah, so there we go. So there's pocket number 2. Now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take the small pieces and use them and cut them. This is all the, this might be a little thicker here. I don't want to use that. Oh, I don't think these are thick pieces. I don't think so. Definitely. And then we'll try one out of here. So this is a long piece that would be otherwise wasted because it's such an odd shape and it's small. And it'd be perfect for our tea pockets because our tea pockets are narrow. So let's go ahead and staple our tea pocket on. So see, it's perfect for what we're using it for because we can still cut that. Not a problem. And there we go. Cut that. Just go ahead and staple this baby right there and right here. So there's our tea pocket. See, it's gonna put it in there just perfect. So And now we've cut we've utilized this. We've kept the big spaces. So if we have a big piece, we can still use it. And we didn't take up any of the big pieces. We cut away all the little piece areas except for like this right here. And so we're hanging on to the bigger pieces. So that maximizes our leather. So you always want to be keeping that in mind. You always want to try and maximize your leather where you can. Because if you're not maximizing your leather, you can have a bunch of pieces that you can't use because they're too small. And so, let me put this up here. Yeah, they're too small, and it makes for a bed. Let me see. Yeah, there we go. When you have all these small little pieces, and then you've got, big pieces like this, you obviously can't piece them together. So, that's why you try to maximize everything. And then we're going to use got a couple of these scraps that are still good leather. There's nothing wrong with them. See how it cut that big piece out of that center? But it left this. And so you're like, well, what can I use this for? Well, I can use it for this right here. So this would be perfect. Just scoot that down a little bit. At the end of the day, and we can go ahead and trim these up a little closer. All we need to do is be able to get a staple in there. So we can trim these a little closer because we can still get staples in there, no problem. Like that and like this. Okay. So by trimming that off, it gives us an area where we can see this more clearly when we're putting it in here in this section. We can see how close can we get down this way and maximize our small pieces. And so we put a staple there and go ahead and cut. See, so now we know that we can just put a staple here. Put a staple here. Put a staple here. And see, so we were able to reuse this small little section that might have been wasted on something else. And we just used it. Just like this little section here. This little section's an odd cut. This has been cut from the factory like this. This little divot, because there were some bad pieces. They cut it. You can see how rough cut this was. So you take these knives and they go real fast. And that's why it leaves this chafing, and they don't get a smooth cut because they just get rough with it, and they cut away whatever bad pieces are on there and toss them aside. So what we can do is we can again take our piece. We might as well, since we got two pieces left, we might as well trim both of these at the same time. So we'll trim them as close as we can get them, just so we know what we're looking at. And we can trim it up as close as possible so that we can get it in as close as possible. leather. So we'll take one of these pieces out and put this piece in. And so it looks like we can cut this piece out of this area here. And that piece will probably be able to cut something out of there. So we're going to be able to use what otherwise would be thought of as scrap. We're going to be able to cut our pockets out of and utilize them just fine. Let's go ahead and cut this thing off. So all we really wasted was that. We didn't waste any. Well, we might. This is going to be a little bit of a waste, but it's very minor. So really all we wasted was that, which is nothing, and those two pieces, and we were able to get a full piece cut out of what otherwise we wouldn't be able to cut anything out of. So we'll look at this again, and we won't be able to cut anything out of this piece because it's too narrow. Nothing out of there, but we can't cut anything out of here because that's too narrow. But we could cut this piece out of here, just like this. And there's that cut that they had from the factory that was, those are usually really bad pieces when they cut them from the factory like that. And it's usually because they've hung them by a hook or something and really put or could just be like rotten leather or something or whatever. And so they just cut that piece out because they know they're not going to sell it, because they sell a lot of this by size. And if they give you too much bunky, because grade A leather, and grade B leather, the only difference is that grade A leather has less area of defects. So, can you get a grade A leather out of a grade B or C leather? Yes, you can. Because you could take, let's say this whole thing was a grade C, because, you know, it had some rough cuts, and, you know, it's got this blemish here, and, you know, got some blemishes over there or whatever. And you wanted to cut, let's say, a grade A out of this, or make it a grade A, all you would do would be to cut this piece out, okay? Cut any of this piece out that was bunky, and then voila, you'd have a grade A piece of leather that's this size, because there's no error in it. And that's how you get grade A, B, and C. So a lot of times they'll have a big hide and they want to make it a grade A, but they've got some defects. They just go in there with their knives, carve out the bunk, and voila, it's a grade A leather. And they get more money for it. So that's how you do it. So a lot of times when you're buying leather, you know, sometimes buying a grade B leather and paying less per square foot is a good idea. And then most of the times it's not that much defect that you have to cut out, and you got a grade A. And so, you know, by the time, if you were to take that same hide and buy it as a grade A, you may pay $75 more on the hide. Whereas if I took a grade B leather and just carved out a couple little spots and it would be close to the same size, and it would be still less price, you get a better price, and it's still grade A. Anyway, we'll be back over the table